Hello. What's going on, everybody? Can people hear me? What is up? Somebody let me know if you can hear me. Anybody? Hi, Anthony. All right, nice. All right, wait a couple minutes here to let some people get in. All right, I got a little bit of a different setup than last week. Um, Last week had some technical difficulties trying to do two cameras at once and show the design. So, yeah, just gonna give it a minute or two here. Driving from work watching this, that is not safe, Eddie. Don't do that. I think on YouTube it's going to be uploaded as a video later, so anybody that can't see it, you can check it out later on YouTube. But anyway, what I'm going to do, because I put that question out the other day, seeing, what were like some things that you think I might be able to help with in your business or whatever. So the thing I got most was, how do you find these jobs where you get to be super creative and you know making that transition from kind of being either in landscaping or you're just doing basic decks and you're having a hard time finding those clients that really just let you do kind of what you want. So that was something I figured I could share a little bit. I think we've had some success with that. Been in business for about 5 years or so, and we've been able to kind of carve out a nice niche where we're only doing these really cool, interesting, creative projects. And that was something that I planned from the beginning. So I think there's a way to go about it that you can do the same thing in your business, and it's really just persistence. It's a little bit of strategy, and hopefully I can help a few people. So I'm just going to kind of, you know, go through what I did, what worked for me. Hopefully that can help you. And if you have any questions along the way, you can just drop them in the chat, and I will try to answer them. So basically, the biggest thing that I've found in taking a landscaping business, because that's what I did to begin with. We were just cutting lawns and doing mulch and installations and stuff like that. Just really pretty pretty basic stuff. I got into the business just because it was kind of the only thing that that was really like the only option at the time. I went to college for a while. That didn't really work out. So just started cutting lawns because it was something I could jump into super easily. And, after probably a year and a half of that, we just kind of, I got tired of that. My skill set wasn't really, cut out for the organization that's needed to scale like a lawn service business. So got the opportunity to work on a pretty cool design build project and just kind of talked my way into it. And after that project, I realized this is what I want to do. I want to really just design and build these really cool spaces. And at that time, I really had no reputation. I didn't have necessarily a whole lot of skills or experience at all, but I knew that when I started Premier Outdoor Living, I wanted to just do these really cool, interesting projects. So um, that was really the goal from the very beginning. And what I decided was, in the very beginning, my most valuable asset was going to be any pictures that I could get of projects. So um, I kind of looked at it like you have to you have to put out what you can do, what you know that you can do and you're capable of, and show people to build a reputation before you're just going to get clients that come to you and are like, "Hey, I want this, you know, crazy crazy design, crazy patio, crazy deck." And I'm just going to hire you to do it when you've never really done it before. So um, I think that's probably like the biggest thing that made the jump for me from getting out of lawn cutting into doing these custom projects was just really focusing for the first like 2 years on just what are these projects going to look like. So I wasn't getting, people spending 50, 100 grand on their backyard and trusting me to do it. It was like 10, 15, maybe 20 grand. And I looked at it like an opportunity to, you know, use that, not make a whole lot of money for the first, year, 2 years, and just do everything I could to practice, get some more experience under my belt, and most importantly, get those pictures to kind of start developing a reputation around it. So, one of the things that I really get asked a lot is about inlays, whether it's on a deck or a patio. It's it's something that we've kind of, you know, built a reputation around these really cool inlays that we do, and it's something that I have a lot of fun with. And um, people always ask, like, how do you charge for those? How are you selling the client on that? And I think that's like the wrong way to look at it. You really have to kind of build your reputation around just doing that all the time. And then, you're not necessarily charging just for the inlay, because if you really broke that down and you gave the client the option, most clients are going to say no. So you just kind of price that into the overall job, and then you just have in your head that, okay, we're going to do some crazy inlay, we're going to do a crazy design on the pavers, whatever it is. It's built into the overall project, and it's not build as like an option. Like, okay, you could have something very plain and basic. We could do a super simple pattern, or we could do this really cool inlay, but the inlay is going to cost you 8 grand or something like that. Some of the ones that we've done have taken, you know, 2 or 3 guys on the crew, like 3, 4, sometimes 5 days. Sometimes it slows down the framing process. It slows down the planning process. It's way harder to, figure out the right amount of materials to get for it. So if you kind of look at it like that, like you're going to try to be profitable by upselling these inlays, it's never really going to work out, because you really just, unless you really get to that point where you have the reputation and you can kind of weed out those clients, it's something that's going to be really, really difficult to do. So um, I always look at it as, we're going to build this into the price of the whole project, and it's not an option to, take this out. I'm not going to give the client the option like, okay, we could do this crazy thing and it's going to be 5, 6 grand more, or, we're going to take it out and we could do something basic, because a lot of times before they really see it on their project, that's going to be a difficult sell. So that's something that was really important to me, was just making that a consistent look with all of our projects, going into it knowing that each project that we do, we're going to do something cool and, something a little bit different. Um, how did you meet the guys on the crew? Um, the guys on the crew, I think that's another part of the business that's been really great for me, is just being super lucky to have really good employees. Let's see, some of them have been with me since the beginning. Pat's been with me now for like 4 years. Josh, same. Ant has been almost 2 years now. And I've been super lucky with that, especially now. A lot of people are having a really hard time finding good employees, or just employees at all that'll show up. And I think by looking at the employees that you hire, I always looked at it based on character first. I know a lot of people say that, but that's really what I looked at. Ant was really like the first person I hired that actually had a ton of experience. Um, so everybody else that came in, they were really just learning from what I knew. So what I knew was kind of like the most that we could possibly do, because everyone else was learning from me at the time. So, and I think you kind of have to do that to an extent in the beginning to really, push yourself and gain more experience under your belt before you can bring somebody else on that that's a lot more experienced. But that's been awesome. I've been super lucky with that, finding great guys, and it's just kind of exploded the possibilities of what we're able to do. Have you ever had an inlay you experimented with where the client didn't like it? Um, I would say sort of. And there's a lot of times where I have like a rough idea of an inlay in my head. Sometimes it's like really hard to sketch out in like a rendering software because it's just really hard to get it super accurate. So, sometimes I'm playing around with it, and me and the client are both kind of looking at it like, okay, that's not really it yet. We got to work on something. And I find that to be especially true with like curved inlays because if you do a curved inlay through a patio or something, the difference between like the little bit of a radius of a curve, like that really has to be like perfect, or else it can just not look good at all. So I don't, at least I don't think so that we've done one, finished it, walked away from it, and the client didn't like it. Um, or at least they didn't tell me, and they seemed really happy about it. But that's usually my goal is I want to walk away and be happy with it. So sometimes that means spending an extra day on it because the initial idea I had just wasn't completely right. So that's yeah, that's something that I'd say is probably more on me than the client. Um, we are going to start this journey as well. That's awesome. I think a lot of people can do it. It's something that with the right kind of mindset from the beginning, you have to make that like monumental shift in your brain. Like, okay, we don't want to do these basic cookie cutter projects. We want to do super custom, just creative stuff. So, in the beginning, one of the biggest things that you have to do is learn to say no to the jobs that aren't going to be right. And you really have to look at it not from a profitability standpoint at the very beginning because you're not just going to like walk into this and be able to charge top dollar for these crazy projects. You're going to have to go in and probably be like, a lower bidder on a big project because you don't have that reputation. So the biggest thing is in the beginning being disciplined enough to say no to a cookie cutter project that might be, good profits in the short term, but if you really keep with that consistent mindset of we're just going to build these really cool things, sometimes that's a client that doesn't necessarily have a ton of budget to work with, but they're the type of client that's going to trust you and just let you do your thing. So those were the clients that I gravitated towards in the beginning. It wasn't really about how much budget they had because I looked at it like this is an investment, you got to make a sacrifice at some point, and that was a sacrifice that I made in the beginning. It was, I'm going to scrape by. I'm going to just, keep my overhead super low, and I'm going to try this thing out and, just keep pumping out pictures of these really cool things. And then a year from now, when I have this big portfolio of projects that we've done, then that gives me, some credit to go to the next client and actually charge what it should cost. So, um, that's one of the biggest things that I was probably most proud of in the beginning was saying no to jobs that I just knew didn't fit the brand that we were trying to build. When you first started, how did you figure out pricing and how long a project will take? That's a tough one. It's a tough one in the beginning, and honestly, it's a tough one to this day. I think part of that is just because, by the time that we sell a project to the time that we actually get there to start installing, might be 3 months, might be 6 months, might be 9 months. So anytime that in that meantime I come up with a new idea that like, just a different way that we do something because this looks cooler or whatever, I always end up doing that on the projects that we've already sold and might not have had those details built into the price. So, I never like to go back to the client after they've signed a contract 6 months ago and say, okay, yeah, I know I said that this design was going to be really cool, but I've come up with these cooler ideas. So a lot of times it's a little bit of, you know, kind of biting the bullet on that, and a lot of that is just because I just, once I get an idea in my head, I just want to do it. So it's cool that I have the opportunity to, but you really just like, by experience, you start figuring out how long this is going to take. And I kind of realized that the smaller jobs were a lot harder for me to accurately, um, not accurately estimate, but if you price out, say, like a 2 day job and it ends up taking 4 days, that's you underestimated it by half, and that can easily happen with a small project that still has like a lot of detail to it. So it's rare that I'll figure a job's going to take 2 weeks and it actually takes four. It's not that that never happens because it does sometimes. But the bigger jobs, it's like, okay, we expected it to take six and it actually took seven. Or, sometimes there's projects that I thought it was going to take 8 weeks and it took us seven. So I think it evens out a little bit more on the bigger projects, where the smaller projects, you either bid it too low and you underestimate how long it's going to take, or you bid it too high, and especially for a small project, that can like almost be offensive to some prospective clients. So I started to notice that like my prices on small projects were just way too high for the market, and I wasn't getting a lot of the jobs. The ones that I did get, we weren't making a lot of money on, and in the process, I was like kind of offending a lot of people because they thought the prices were super high. Um, so I think we're kind of more suited towards those bigger projects and doing like the all-encompassing deck, patio, landscaping, and then we're priced a lot more. I wouldn't even say competitively because we don't try to, price match or anything like that. We're providing a very unique service. So, um, but it's not to a point where, on a smaller project where we're building a set of stairs or something, we might be four times the price of some handyman or something like that. So really pricing it out in the beginning, it's really just experience. And in the beginning, when you're doing, new inlays and stuff like that, it's really hard to have any idea how long it's going to take. I always figure the small details that I come up with, those things are usually going to take twice the amount of time that I estimate, no matter what that estimation is. So that's a good place to start, but you can't estimate it like that in the beginning because your prices are going to be too high, and if you don't have the reputation, you're not going to get the job. So you kind of have to bite the bullet on that and take a hit from a profit perspective in order to build that portfolio and get the reputation where you have more leads than you can handle, and you can be super selective. People are willing to pay for it. They're willing to wait for you to get to the job. We're booked out really the furthest we've ever been. We're booked out almost a year, and a lot of people are still really willing to wait because they trust what we can do because they've seen it on every project, and that consistency. So um, I don't know if that was a great answer to that. How do you price and estimate time in the beginning? I think you just jump into it, and then as you've done other ones, you'll kind of get a better idea of you know a rough estimate of what this is going to take. There's a lot of details in your projects. Have you lost money with the extra detail work? Also, what price ranges would you say most of your projects are in? So, um, I would say, yeah, definitely. I don't like to say lost money because anytime that we do something that, usually if it's going like way over the estimated amount of time that I figured in the beginning, it's usually because um, I've come up with an idea that I just want to go with and do. So I always look at those things as opportunities to kind of grow our brand, show new things that we can do. I never want to get complacent with the designs that we come up with. I still look at it like I'm very new in this, so I have a lot to learn as a designer to get better at that. And so yeah, but there's plenty of times where I've estimated it to take, X amount of days to do this inlay or fire pit or whatever, and it takes twice that easily. But I look at that as kind of an investment in the brand, because as long as those details that did take a lot of extra time turn out really cool and I get, some great pictures or whatever out of it, that I look at as a win. So, and in the end, I'm really just trying to like have fun at work and enjoy what I do. So that's the stuff I love about it, and I'll happily take a little bit of a profit hit to be able to, just have the freedom to do some cool idea that I come up with. I'm a huge fan of your work. I appreciate that. It's awesome to see your creativity and how you guys all create a family. Thanks for sharing your story. I appreciate that, man. It's interesting you said we've created a family, because it really kind of feels like that when we're working together. I hope the other guys feel that way. Try to make it pretty fun. We get after it when we have to, but we also try to have fun every day, build cool stuff, keep it interesting. So I appreciate it. Money making Mike G, what's up, my man? Mad scientist, always at work. It's true. I really am. And I think that's gonna that's gonna be one of the things that separates the people that will be able to take a landscaping business, or just like a you know general contracting business, and want to get into like the really custom cool stuff. It's really, you're gonna have to have that passion for it and love doing it. Otherwise, you're gonna just not see that end goal, and it's gonna just seem like it's too far in the distance, and it's not worth it, because it is a lot of work in the beginning. You're really just kind of working your ass off in the beginning, and it's it takes a while for that payout, where the reputation has been built, where you can start charging more for your work, where you can be more selective with the clients, and work with budgets that allow you to really do what you like to do. So you really got to be you really got to be passionate about it first, before you even think about making that transition. Because if you just look at it like, hey, that would be really cool, I would love to take pictures like that at the end of a job, that's not going to be enough to carry you through a job that's 10 weeks long, and is just, it's brutally hot out or whatever. You're going to have that passion to enjoy what you're doing, or else it's just not going to, you're not going to last in it. So if you have that passion, I think there's a pretty good chance that, you make it through, as long as you stick with the vision that you set out, and, you know, you'll be good. Love your work, mate. I appreciate that. We just started this year, and we'll hopefully get to your level in years to come. Any advice on how you upsell so we can get more creative? I think this goes back to some of the other stuff I was saying, that in the beginning, you can't look at it like an upsell. If you really want to build a brand that's, just doing these really cool projects, and you don't want to do any cookie cutter stuff, it's a certain type of business that you'll have to want to build, because it's going to be hard to build like a huge volume business on this super creative stuff. So a lot of times, these businesses that do it well are smaller companies that have more of a boutique style, and are charging more but doing less volume. With that usually comes a lot less overhead, so your profit margins can be way higher than a larger company doing volume. But in the beginning, you can't really look at it as an upsell. Um, you just gotta, you know, if a client doesn't have the budget to do like this really crazy creative stuff, you try to, pick the clients that have enough of a budget where, you're not going to lose your house or lose your car, but they're going to let you do the creative stuff. So those were the clients that I tried to seek out in the beginning, were people that just kind of trusted what ideas I threw out there, and we worked with their budget. A lot of times it was, I mean, you'd probably laugh if you saw what I charged for some of like the first projects that we did, that took, 8 weeks or 10 weeks, and we charged, $15,000 or $20,000, and I was probably making $12 an hour at the end of the day. But I really looked at that as, not only getting my experience, becoming a better installer, learning about, different installation techniques, but also building that reputation. The only thing I cared about in the beginning was like, as long as I get a great finished picture from this, it doesn't matter what I charge, because that's, in a year from now, I'm not going to remember, oh my God, I can't believe I made like $10 an hour on that project and it took us 10 weeks or whatever. I'm going to remember that, hey, I got that awesome picture. That was a huge sacrifice that we made, but now a year later, we've built a brand around this, and that went into a lot of the social media stuff that I jumped into pretty early, especially on a local level. It was really the only one of the only advantages I had over any of our local competition was that I was younger than pretty much everybody else. And, I was familiar with Facebook and Instagram just because I was 25 or whatever. So um, I looked at that as a huge opportunity. We can build a brand to be whatever we want it to be online. We just have to make sure that we have the valuable asset. In this case, it was those really nice finished pictures. I appreciate that, Josh. I'm glad. Hopefully, hopefully this helps a little bit. And I just also want to say that by no means am I an expert on any of this. This is just my experience. I don't have any formal training in business or design or construction or anything. I've really just kind of learned all this as I went. So um, these are really all of the sorry, I'm trying to read some of these comments. But yeah, these are just the things that I've learned along the way and have really helped me. So hopefully it helps you, and you can make that transition where you're being super profitable at a way earlier point in the game than I was. But um, answering some questions for you on YouTube, my man, Money Making Mike G, always moderating that comment section, making sure people know what's up. The haters on YouTube are crazy. I don't know if it's worse on YouTube or TikTok. Probably TikTok. People are just absolutely brutal on there. But are your contracts fixed price these days? How do you deal with material costs fluctuating so much? Um, my contracts are always at a fixed cost. I think I think things are starting to normalize now, so I'm not super worried about it going forward. I think it would have been a fair thing to do a year ago, when like lumber and any type of metal or really anything was going through the roof. I think it would have been a fair thing to do if you really like saw that coming. But for us, it wasn't a huge hit. I mean, a lot of the materials were more expensive. At one point, I think I paid $62 for a sheet of OSB plywood, um, which is crazy. But at the same time, those material costs, as a percentage of the whole project, are relatively low. So, it wasn't a huge hit. And a lot of the I'd say higher ticket materials that we buy, those prices didn't fluctuate as much. It was mostly lumber. Metal prices were crazy. I think they're starting to normalize too. We don't use that as much, but um, yeah, we still have fixed contract prices. Um, I think I think I could really look at that both ways, and I know a lot of people are doing like a stipulation in their contract where if lumber rises a certain percentage, we add on this much. But I think for me, I looked at it as these clients are trusting us with a lot of their money, you know, any way you look at it. So I just thought that that was kind of the fair thing to do was keep our prices what they were. It was a little bit of a hit for us, but in the grand scheme of things, not that much because most of our pricing is really based on the labor. If we're going to be at a project for 8 weeks with 5 guys, um, OSB plywood going up 6 times the price, which is insane. It's not as big of a deal because you know we're still only spending maybe $1,500 on we might need 15 sheets of OSB plywood for sheathing a gable wall, or we're using some 5/8 plywood for roof sheathing, but it's in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't that big of a deal, and I thought it was more important to just be upfront and have my clients trust me that this is the price that we agreed on, and I'm not going to come to you every day and say, oh, we hit something unexpected, it needs to be more money. um, we kind of factor those things in. We know that we're going to hit something unexpected throughout the project, but we want to make sure that it's still at that price that we agreed upon. So, do you have your materials delivered or you pick them up? If they're delivered, has slow delivery impacted your projects? We have pretty much everything delivered. Um, we pick up some stuff, but for the most part, we try to get everything delivered. One of the things that I like to do is we have our overhead really, really pretty low as it can get for the type of projects that we're doing. So I look at it as, I could either invest money in a, new truck, whether it's a dump truck to get aggregate for patios, or, a huge trailer to be able to pick up skids of decking, or whatever it is. What's that going to cost me to the amount of projects that we do to really justify the headache of having that other piece of equipment that I have to maintain and keep up with insurance and payments and all that kind of stuff, when I could just really, for us, it saves us money to not have those expenses and just factor in total on a project, maybe $1,000, maybe $2,000 in delivery fees for different stuff. A lot of stuff that we get, lumber and all that stuff. Most lumber yards don't charge a delivery charge, so it makes sense to get it delivered for those things anyway. So that's something that a lot of people will probably debate me on, and a lot of people are in the mindset that the more equipment that you can get, the better. And for some people, that works great. So I don't want to say that that's not the way to do it, but for us, I think keeping the overhead low as possible has been great for us. Gives us the flexibility to, if we come up with an idea, we can just go with it because we have that flexibility. It's not like, our overhead's costing us $10,000 a day or whatever, and each day we're there, we're just getting killed. So that's how I've always looked at it. The slow delivery has been probably one of the biggest issues that we faced this year. And it's just, it's hard to predict, like, you know really anything these days, because there's so many things with like trucking and just issues with infrastructure and logistics, like across the country, across the world. So um, stuff that used to get shipped direct to our site via like an LTL carrier used to take like 3 days, and it was super reliable. Like I could order something, it would be there within a week. Now it's like, and a lot of the companies that we're dealing with for various things that we order direct, they're really aware of like these shipping issues, so they're trying to get it out even faster because they know there's going to be a lot more delays with the shipping companies, because we've had issues with LTL carriers where, we've paid for 3-day shipping on whatever it is, and it gets to the distribution center, and they're so backed up. They have so many shipments in there that are late that, it's going to take them an extra week and a half to get it from the distribution center, which is, 10 miles away from where we are, out to our job site. So with some of that stuff, we've been able to call the shipping company and just go to the distribution center and pick it up ourselves. If it's something that's, that we're able to pick up, we do that. But that's just been probably the most unpredictable thing of anything this year, is just deliveries and stuff like that. With the local stuff, it's not really bad. Our lumberyard and Timothy's Center for Gardening for Techo Block and everything, they've been amazing, and I don't know, they've kept us going really well. But just in a grand sense, the slow delivery times and the lack of drivers out there is pretty brutal. But hopefully we're kind of on the tail end of that, and by next year, it it kind of evens out, I hope. I love seeing your unique touches on outdoor living spaces. We just completed a full outdoor living space, and the client added double the work from the original project. Do you ever run into that? Uh, yeah, definitely. I really appreciate that, by the way. Um, Yeah, we run into that a lot, and that can be another super difficult thing with keeping, your schedule on time because, the client might come to you and say, "Hey, I had this idea, like I really want to do X, Y, or Z." And if it's something that can easily be done later and it's not going to affect like, this has to be prepared for that right now and it kind of has to go in now or it's not going to go in at all. If that's a possibility, sometimes we can say, all right, we can add that, but we're going to have to come back because we didn't anticipate that in our schedule. But a lot of stuff, it's like you either do it now or you don't do it at all. So we've kind of had to like, just not have to, but we want to make the client happy. A lot of times, if there are those extra things that are getting added, it's a really cool thing. So, um, the biggest problem with that is it throws off our schedule quite a bit. And the bigger the projects that we've been doing, each thing that they add is usually a big thing. So it's been pretty tough, but all in all, that's a good thing for us for any business really if the client's so happy with it that they want to double what they're doing and you know and are willing to pay for it. So definitely happens to us all the time. Guess your guess also your target market model is not doing basic. Yeah, definitely. Those are the projects that we turn down, especially in the beginning. Now we kind of pre-qualify those type of leads on our website. So our website has minimum pricing. It's just a number that I found kind of weeded out the clients that definitely weren't going to be a good fit for us. And you know, you kind of have to decide. You can't do a little bit of everything. If you want to do the basic stuff, then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with doing the basic stuff if you want to build a volume business. But you need to be at a better price point, and you need to be super efficient and be able to knock them out at a good, at least a decent quality, and do a ton of them super efficiently because if you're doing that cookie cutter basic stuff, you're not going to be able to separate yourself on the cool, interesting designs or the details. So you're going to have to come down to price and efficiency. And that was just never something I was interested in. So we tried to stay clear of that. How long have you been in business overall? Trying to think. Probably I started. I changed the name. So I started out as Greener Outdoor Living, and that was when I was doing lawn maintenance. And the slogan was, "Keep your," I forget what it was. "Keep your lawn and your wallet a whole lot greener." And that was like the worst idea ever because it only attracted a bunch of like really cheap people that didn't want to pay for anything. So I did that for probably, I want to say like 2.5 years, and then 2015, January of 2015 is when I changed the name to Premier Outdoor Living, got rid of all my loan equipment, just gave away all those accounts that I had, and focused on this completely. So I want to say like 2012 probably is when I started. Um, I'm getting real behind on these comments. All right, let me see. Uh, Passion in your work shows in every project. I appreciate that. Thank you. Started my business a year and a half ago and found out that I'm the only contractor in my area that uses decorators. I love their products. Uh, I started out as one of the only contractors using decorators in my area, which was cool. I mean, we never really look at like competition, especially locally, because we only do a certain amount of projects. But it was kind of a cool thing to be like, you know, I really believe that this is the best product on the market, and we're one of the only people in our area that were really using it. But that's already started to change. Once we were using it a lot, our local lumberyard started stocking it, and now like everybody's using it, which is awesome. But it was kind of cool in the beginning to be like the only guy using this stuff. You and your team inspired me to start my deck company. That's awesome. You'll never be mad that you went into business for yourself. It might not work out and you might hate it and decide to go back and work for somebody else or something, but you're never going to regret trying it. So that's awesome. What software do we use? We use Real Time Landscape Architect for designs, and that's something that probably if we continue doing these lives, um, we will we might do some like real-time landscape architect stuff where I show you how we take the design from like that plan sketch phase into the software and render it pretty quickly and efficiently. Um, so let me know if that's something that anybody would like to see in the future. Better to bid too high than too low. Yeah, I would agree to an extent. Not in the beginning because if you bid everything too high, you're not going to have any work. So I think it's important to develop the brand first, and then you're able to charge a higher amount because you've proved that you're worth that higher amount. How did you hear about the people from Goliath? Um, Really just online, probably Instagram was where I first heard about helical piles. Saw a lot of people up in Canada doing them, and just saw like how quick and efficient they were. And for us, it's one of those things that really helps us shave off a couple days off each project. And since we're only doing one job at a time, it makes a huge difference for us. And once we started, we never really looked back from that. Moneymaker Mike G really coming through, helping us out here with the comments, replying to everybody. Love the videos. Congrats on your son. Happy all surgeries went well. I appreciate that, Patrick. That was a crazy, scary time. First kid and 6 weeks old had to get emergency stomach surgery, but luckily everything went amazingly well and he's perfectly healthy now. And he's just like the happiest baby, and he also sleeps all night, which is amazing. I think I would lose my mind if he didn't. Oh yeah, I'm way behind on these comments. You probably don't even know which ones I'm responding to. Um, are you from a design qualified or trade background? Clearly, you can do both. No, not really. So my dad owned a construction company growing up. I was always kind of around the trades and knew, the different tools and, just general stuff. Never really had a ton of experience working with them because that didn't end up working out at all. So I think that helped a little bit, and just knowing some different people in the trades that I could lean on if I ran into a problem. And that's another thing that's been great with like Instagram, especially. Um, just making friends with a lot of other people in the trade that might be local, might be in another country, but if you run into a problem, you can put it out there to some people that you've met, uh, that can really help you out of a jam and figure out a solution to a problem. So I think there's so many resources now that you don't need to have a design degree or anything like that. Experience is the best teacher, and if you just get out there and learn from what you're doing, I think you're gonna be much better. Adventures of a Handyman, what's happening? Um, do you find word of mouth helps with a lot of jobs? Yeah, I would say word of mouth is still an important avenue. But I don't think word of mouth anymore is, hey, here's this random person's phone number. You can't find out any information about them, but here, give them a call. I think now it is a lot of word of mouth, but it's instead, hey, we heard about this guy. Check him out on Instagram or watch his YouTube videos, and then they get that word of mouth reference, and they can go online, learn everything about what we do. Feel like they get to know me because they can see videos and all that kind of stuff. So uh, definitely. Definitely word of mouth helps, but I think it's just a little different um, right now. Love to find how you found your crew. Um, Met Pat at a party, um, and I just had somebody quit, so I said, "Hey, can you show up?" And he said, "Yeah," and I said, "Okay, cool." And that was like 4 years ago. Uh, Jose's been with me since the very beginning. Uh, I met him through a friend. Josh, his fiance is like family friends with my wife, so he got in touch with me when he was like 19. Now he's 23. growing up so fast. And then Ant reached out through Instagram, and yeah. Mike G, who are you to Premier Outdoor Living? You seem fairly knowledgeable. I assume you work with the company. Basically, in a sense, Money Making Mike G was probably our first supporter on YouTube way back when the videos almost made no sense because they were just ridiculous videos. But and he's local, so he's been out to a couple of our job sites, and yeah, he's just the man. You pull clients, pull permits for the clients. Yeah, we do all the permits. Um, I know some people have the homeowners handle the permits, but if anything, that's just like a huge delay for us. So we deal with the townships all the time, so we handle all that stuff. Let me see. I'm gonna miss some of the comments because I'm getting way behind on these. Let me see. All right. Do you guys get a cut from each project or day rate? Um, my employees get a day rate or a yearly rate or whatever. Doesn't they make what they make whether a job takes us 3 weeks or 12 weeks, but um, I get paid on a payment schedule. So usually it's um, we're paid like 50% before we start, and then we'll do, depending on the length of the project, we'll have different milestones, and usually we have like 10% left at the end, and that's how we do it. And there's so many questions I'm falling behind on. Sorry about that. Um, Thanks for helping me out with these questions, Money Making Mike G. Do you recommend becoming licensed carpenter or contractor if wanted to do something similar to what your business does? It's going to depend on where you are. So in New Jersey, you have to be a licensed contractor. That doesn't really mean anything besides you have insurance and you pay the $100 a year or whatever. So it's not really a great like qualifier to find like a good contractor. I know some states um, you really have to like take tests and all that kind of stuff. You don't in New Jersey, so it's kind of like, you know, I think that's why a lot of people in our area do a lot more research on contractors, and that's why it's good to have a good online presence. Do you have a company in South Jersey you recommend for the more basic work? Um, I'll have to think of that because there are a lot of projects that we're not a great fit for just because we have 5 people in the crew and we only do one job at a time. And some people just want something a lot more simple, which is fine, and they'll enjoy it just as much as some crazy project that we would build. But um, I'll have to get like a list of contractors to recommend to people when it's not something that really fits in our scope. Happy client here. Thank you so much, Mike. Mike is one of our clients that was just awesome. We did his project into the winter last year. Lots of snow. I think it snowed on the first day we were there actually, and but had a cooler full of snacks for us every day. Just just awesome. Really feel lucky to work for some awesome clients. We really haven't had many bad clients at all, so been very lucky with that. Uh, RC Outdoor, what's up, my man? Dude, you inspired me to build a pergola. Use your videos as inspiration. That's awesome. Um, I learned so much on YouTube when I first started just by like, Googling stuff and watching videos. So that was part of the reason I wanted to make some YouTube videos was to really show you like none of this is really that hard. It's a lot of basic principles that you just build on, and you know, it's it's really pretty basic. So I'm glad that you can watch the videos and build a pergola, and I'll have to see a picture of it because that's pretty awesome. What's the black paint you use on all your frames? Lately, we've been using from Benjamin Moore. It's like Arbor Coat in black, semi-solid. That seems to work really well, and we can buy it by the gallon because we use a lot of that. Where has Pat been? Pat has been at work every day. That comment's coming in from YouTube, and yeah, the he's been behind the camera a lot. We got some more like not that fancy equipment, but we got like the gimbal and everything. So he sets that up, and every time we need to film something, he turns that on. So I'm not holding the camera as much, pointing to him, but I definitely should because everybody needs some more Pat. He was actually supposed to come over tonight, and he didn't want to be part of this, but he wanted to just hang out. But I don't know where he's at. Where will the company go from here? Expanded range, more crew, fewer but more lucrative jobs. Um, Time will tell, really. But the thing that I've always tried to put like the most emphasis on is just doing cooler, more interesting things, trying to get better as a designer and all that kind of stuff, and just trying to push the limits of what I can come up with and what we can build. And we haven't been doing it for that long, so uh, I think there's still a lot that I can learn, and you know, I think we can build a lot cooler stuff than we have. So that's always the priority. How are you able to become licensed and insured? You just have to buy insurance and then you apply for the license in New Jersey, and it's really simple as that. Greetings from Texas. What's up? We're actually going to be in Texas for the Deck Expo in November. So let me know if anybody else is going to be there. That's going to be cool. There are a few featured stars, but often a few characters in the shadows. Are these semi part-time guys, subcontractors of sorts? Um, those are probably like our electrician, plumber. Those are really like the only people that are on site and not us five. So it's five of us every day, and then uh, electrician, that's usually him and a helper, and our plumber is like two or three guys. So yeah. And then my dad and my father-in-law always stop by, so they sometimes get in the time lapse videos, just kind of hanging out, watching. Uh, what do you and your guys do in the winter? We work through the winter now. Um, Now I got five people on salary, so we we can't really afford to take off through the winter. It's a little bit slower, weather delays and all that kind of stuff. Look forward to the Friday content. You guys are hilarious. Work is pretty sick also. I appreciate that, Keith. Thank you. Um, do you all travel all US? No. Um, just South Jersey for projects. Um, 12 credit hours every 2 years to hold license in Wisconsin. That's probably a good thing to have in place. You know, New Jersey doesn't, so you have to, as a client that's looking at prospective contractors to hire, you have to be a little bit more, do a little bit more research because literally anybody can become a contractor. So, is it important to have a customer provide snacks, water, etc., at least a bathroom? Uh, no, it's not. It's a nice gesture when they do. We really appreciate it. We always get a porta potty on every project, so I mean, usually after like 2 days on site, the backyard's ripped up, it's muddy. We never go into clients' houses because we would just make a complete mess of it. So we always have a porta potty on site. Are there any projects or part of a project you have refused to do? Love the videos. I appreciate that. Thank you, Evan. Yeah. I wouldn't say refused to do, but there's projects that we've walked away from that just didn't fit, the the type of project we wanted to do at the time, or um, lots of different things. I mean, we get so many leads. We only do about 12 projects a year, and even with all the pre-qualifying we try to do on our website to only get leads that are highly qualified, we still get, honestly, probably, I would say, at least 400 or 500 pretty decent qualified leads a year, and we're only doing like 12 projects. So we turn down a lot, and we can be super super selective with the clients that we do work with. And most of all, it's finding clients that really value the creativity and want that kind of thing. So that's what we like to provide, and that's worked out great. Love following all your projects. Love that you continue to push the creative envelopes. Killer covered structures this year. Um, Appreciate that. Really appreciate that. Um, yeah, this year is like the year of the roof. Last year we did a sunroom project that had a big roof and fireplace and all that kind of stuff. And Aunt said, as soon as you post pictures of this project, you're gonna get nothing but calls for um, big covered decks, and that's exactly what happened. So we did a ton of those this year, which is cool. It gave us the opportunity to build some really cool stuff for us. Really pushed our limits of what we could do, and you know, and learned a lot because we hadn't done a ton of those before. So um, it was really cool. Cascade Corey, just the hat emoji. I really got to come clean. I think it's been 2 years. He bet me that if the Seahawks beat the Eagles, that I would send him a hat. And I can't believe I haven't sent you one yet. But I know I said this like 3 times to you, Corey, but I'm gonna get you that hat. Definitely. It's almost Friday already, so I don't know about this week, but next week I'm gonna put that on my list, and I'm gonna get you a hat. Have you been approached by HGTV for a show? Well, I've been contacted by tons of like casting companies or whatever, and I mean, I think it's kind of their job to just, um, pretty much reach out to everybody that has some sort of internet presence and film as many of these, highlight reels as they can and pitch as many things as they can to network. So, um, it's not something that at this point I'm super, super interested in pursuing, even if the opportunity came up. I like that, we're able to make content now and share it with people on YouTube and Instagram. And um, we're also, just able to do whatever we want. There's no production company telling us, what to do and slowing us down. We're able to just do what we want. And if you watch our YouTube videos, you know that they're pretty silly and ridiculous at times, and that's what makes it fun. So I'm not really looking to do like a TV show. I think TV shows are kind of on the way out anyway. Let's see. Build decks on the side of my regular job this summer. I built a really nice one for what I've done. And in Canada, I want to take it to a new level and do it full time. How should I do that? Uh, Best way, I mean, the way I did it was just jump into it and, you know, really don't have any other choices. I sold all my lawn equipment and just jumped into it. Luckily, I was a little bit younger, didn't have a kid, had just bought a house, but I live in a very, very modest house that's not super expensive, so gives me a lot of flexibility. And um, you know, if you have more overhead or more responsibilities with a family, it might be a little bit harder, but there's nothing to inspire you like just jumping in and having no backup plan. Have you seen the company Finished Basements NJ? They may be a business model you could follow. Yeah, I do. I do follow them on Instagram, and they do some absolutely insane stuff. I think they do a lot of, I don't want to say cookie cutter, but regular, kind of more basic finished basements as well. But they kind of advertise the really high end stuff on Instagram, and it's insane. They do just insane basements. I've never seen anything quite like it. So, um, how many of your jobs could be photographed at night to highlight features not seen during the day, along with the crazy lighting? Um, yeah, I think it's really tough. Like night shots are really hard, and I'm not a professional photographer, so I think a professional photographer could probably get some better shots of it, but it's really difficult to get good shots when it's actually dark out, especially of a whole project, because all you see is like the glaring lights and you don't see a whole lot of the features of the project. So I like to do like right around dusk, just as the sun is setting. That's like that's when you get the money shot. So um, solar pergolas are a hot item to create an energy producing shade cover. Sounds interesting. New Hampshire here, starting my first deck on my home, learning from all your videos. You've inspired me to DIY. That's awesome. As long as you take your time and you know you're willing to you know redo some things if you have to because you made a mistake, I'm sure it'll turn out awesome. Lock it in for justice. We are getting some shirts pretty soon um, that say lock it in for justice among a couple other things. So hopefully they'll be up online within the next couple weeks, hopefully. Um, have you think to expand or franchise? I would like to do your business concept in Ohio. Um, no, I haven't really thought too much about that. Um, it seems like that would be a lot of work involved, and we just have a lot of other stuff kind of distracting us from things like that right now. Evan, oh my God, this is hilarious. Is there a GoFundMe for Scooter's leg lengthening surgery? That's hilarious. I'd stay away from being an employee of production shows. Your work will suffer, you'll suffer, your clients will. Like, I agree. I mean, you know, I never want to give up control of what we do and the brand that we're building. Um, and I think you have to do that if you're working with a production company. So, um, you know, not that any of those things probably would have panned out anyway, because I mean, they do millions of casting interviews with like everybody. So, um, Corey, Cascade Corey, I'll hold you to that hat. Yeah, I will. I'm gonna get you that hat. I promise, bud. I really do. Real question: does your wife play a role in the business? She did. She was um, taking care of a lot of stuff in the office, and she still does a good amount of that. But she is a licensed social worker, and that's like her passion. So she's gonna, she took off some time to just be a mom, and she's about to start going back to taking therapy clients and doing her thing, which is awesome, and still continuing to help me a little bit. But yeah, and then she's here every day watching me edit YouTube videos and not complaining too much when I make her watch them before I post them. So that's very important. Don't know if this was asked yet. Does most of your clientele find you on Instagram? How do they find you? A lot of it is online, whether it's Instagram or I've been surprised how many people have found us through YouTube that just happen to be local, and that's really led to a ton of great clients because they're able to like really see everything that you do and feel like they know you before you ever even show up. So um, that's been really cool. You should give away a track saw for us like people out here trying to aspire to your level. That's an expensive giveaway. It's probably like $700 with the long track and everything. We'll see what I can do on that. But that was probably one of like the top three most important tools that we have. I held off on getting one for way too long, and as soon as I got it, I was like, I don't know how we survived without this thing. just recently started my own company in Alberta, Canada, trying to get into building outdoor living spaces. Have been a long time fan of your YouTube channel. I appreciate that, Matthew. I think stick with it and you'll kill it. Money making Mike G still responding to some people. Appreciate you, Money making Mike G. And some of you are probably confused. I'm streaming to YouTube and Instagram right now, so some of these comments are coming through YouTube, some are coming through Instagram. Um, all your work is so custom. Do you have a formula for pricing it? Um, yeah, try to keep it as simple as possible because everything's so different. So we don't do like a square footage price and all that kind of stuff. We really just try to estimate material costs and add up all the materials that are going to be involved in the project, and then try to, as accurately as possible, determine how many days or weeks it's going to take, and then add in material cost, labor cost, and boom, there you got your price. So try to keep that simple because overcomplicating it, I think you can lose more than you win on that stuff, especially with the business model that we have. So that's worked really well for me. After you design your project on real time, how do you go about the next part, as in materialist, etc.? It does some of that stuff for you, pulling just square footages and stuff like that. But with a lot of the inlay stuff that we do, it's just a lot of kind of like paperwork and sketching things out by hand and you know really a roundabout way of trying to figure out how much we're going to need of pavers, and there's border pavers. Like the current project, I think we have like 6 or 7 different Techo Block products on there. So yeah, that can be difficult. Been rocking for over an hour. Yeah, I know this time is flying. I'm gonna cut it pretty soon here, I think. What drone do you use for your elevated photos and videos? I have I for the longest time I had a DJI Mavic Pro. I think those are about $1,000. I just bought the Mavic 2 Pro. That was like close to 2,000 with the extra batteries and stuff. But um, they have the Mavic Mini or the Mavic Air. Those are only I think maybe like 500-600 bucks, and they still take great pictures. If you don't have a drone, that's like one of the things you should definitely get to elevate your marketing and everything, because a lot of the shots that we get would not be possible without the drone, and it's helped us a lot. Didn't realize you were local until I saw you wear an Eagle shirt in a vid. Yep, I wear that shirt pretty regularly. Super Bowl 52 champs starting again on Sunday. I love your YouTube channel. I appreciate that. Thank you, Johnny. Have you ever tried Tiva Coat to waterproof the framing? I've seen that stuff. Not too familiar with it. It seems like more of a Canadian type of thing, but interesting. What are the other two most important tools? I don't know. It's a tough one. Can't really think of anything off the top. Zip level's probably one. Love that thing. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to really think about that one. Where are you from? From South Jersey, right outside of Philly. Money Making Mike G already answered that one. Nikita should sponsor a Traxall giveaway. Just saying. Hey, I agree. But anytime somebody sponsors something, you owe them something in return. So I don't know if I want to get involved with anything like that. Are composite decks still back ordered for special colors? It's hit or miss, I guess. The lumberyard that we deal with started stocking decorator stuff this year, so um, it's been pretty good for us on the colors that we use the most. So, but certain stuff really, no matter what manufacturer or industry, whether it's decking or pavers or anything. I mean, there's just certain stuff that is back ordered like crazy. So you got to be a little bit flexible in these times, no matter what you're using. What software to use to lay out for deck for permits? We're using an architect now, so I send the design and kind of framing sketch to him, and he writes it all up and you know, draws it and then stamps it, and it uh, makes everything a lot easier for us. The IQ saw has to be in the top 3 tools. That's true. The dustless IQ saw has been awesome. Uh, love that. The giant square. The giant square is a good one. That's in our Amazon store too, so you can check that out. Um, good to see you doing the live streams now. Yeah, we'll see. Let me know if you liked this or if it was stupid and I should stop doing them. But yeah, I figured this is the best way I could answer most people's questions because I don't get to all the messages and everything. Because I'm on site all day, and I figured once a week I could do this and um, hopefully help out some people. Is creating YouTube content, filming, and such nearly a requirement on the client's end? It's on our contract that that we're going to be filming and stuff like that. We've built our whole business around it, especially like the consistency factor of it. Like so, future clients can see, they can follow and see every project that we do, and the more of those that are cool and they see that consistently, the better. So we it's definitely a requirement that we're gonna film everything. So what's the lumber store you get your stuff from? We get it from Glassboro Lumber. Chris Godwin with the early touchdown. Do you think your fantasy team is as premier as your company? Yeah, I was a little worried about that. I didn't check my fantasy lineup. I knew I had Chris Godwin in there. I haven't checked the score or anything. So well, that's good. I'm gonna check it after this, and hopefully I'm winning. Do this more often. All right. Cascade Corey says that, then I am I'm all ears. And Scott, if he wants me to, I'll be here. Even if it's only the 2 of you that watch, I'll do it for you guys. And Corey, I'm gonna get you a hat. And yeah, that's it for this. I'm signing off. It's kind of late. And let me know. Drop me a message or comment or something, and let me know if you thought this was cool, if I should do more of them, and also kind of what topics. This one kind of turned into a Q&A. So let me know what you thought, what I could do in the future, and see what we can do.